Buenas tardes. Los organizadores del evento de hoy tienen la firme determinación de crear un espacio multilingüe y con esa finalidad contamos con interpretación disponible en español, inglés, lengua de señas. Les pedimos a todos los participantes que hablen lentamente y en voz alta y clara en sus micrófonos para facilitar la interpretación. Al terminar este anuncio, activaremos la función de interpretación y si usted se está usando una aplicación Zoom, podrá ver un icono de mundo aparecer en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Podrá hacer clic ahí y seleccionar su idioma preferido. Si se une por un celular o un tablet, va a ir a la parte inferior de su pantalla y seleccionar los tres puntitos donde dice More o más. Seleccione Language Interpretation y después su idioma preferido. Y si tienen algún problema al hacer esto, por favor escriba un comentario en el chat y una nota de los intérpretes de lengua de señas que van a estar cambiando de turno a cada 15 minutos. Gracias. Good afternoon. The organizers of today have made a strong commitment to creating a multilingual space. To that end, we have interpretation available in Spanish, English, ASL interpretation. We ask that all participants speak slowly, loudly, and clearly into their microphones to make interpretation easier. Right after this announcement, we will activate the interpretation feature. And if you're using the Zoom application, you will see a globe icon appear at the bottom of your screen. You will click on there and select your preferred language. If you're on your cell phone or a tablet, you will see 3 dots at the bottom of your screen where it says More, choose language interpretation and select your preferred language. If you have any problems with interpretation at any point, please don't hesitate and write on the chat. And a note from ASL interpreters will be switching every 15 minutes. Thank you. Interpretation will now be activated.
Welcome and good evening, everyone.
And sorry to interrupt. We have not yet been assigned. I will post it on the chat. Thank you.
Great. Should I continue?
Not yet. Interpreters yet have not been assigned.
Got it. We'll wait just a minute for that. Thank you.
I think all interpreters have been assigned now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So,
no, not yet. I'm sorry. No.
No, no problem. This is my first time with live interpretation, so I'm thankful to learn the process. Thank you.
We're ready, Kyria. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. For those of you who are not aware, this is a high arts event. My name is Kyria Traber. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am visiting you from virtually from Lenape land in Brooklyn, New York. I have big black brown curly hair, wire rim glasses. I'm wearing a patterned halter tank top, and behind me are some plants in planters, and I'm sitting on a pinkish armchair, and there's a white wall. I am the curator in residence with High Arts, and High Arts is a leading cultural hub within the urban arts movement. Through artistic development, residencies, vibrant multidisciplinary creative programming, civic engagement opportunities, we empower artists to develop bold new work while creating a positive, lasting impact on our community. So today, I'm really excited to be bringing one of our Skylab artists in residence with some really exciting colleagues to talk about You Are Holding, this zine. I want to introduce the artists that are here with me this evening. We have Benjamin Lundberg Torres Sánchez, who is our Skylab artist in residence this season, or this month and next. Benjamin uses their art and facilitation to transform individual witness into collective action. As a queer transnational adoptee, their work resists ways the state hijacks individual and collective bodies to fulfill performances of power across imaginary borders and boundaries. And Benjamin is joined by their collaborators on this scene, Leah Nichols, who's an award-winning filmmaker, animator, and designer based in San Francisco. She works to expand models of kinship, increase access to collective histories, and champion the compatibility of trauma and joy. She is best known for her short film, 73 Questions, which won the 2018 Social Impact Media Awards Creative Activism Award. Leah is a proud Korean-American adopted person who was born in Korea and raised in Minnesota. And we have X. X is a transdisciplinary artist who works in time-based media, painting, and installation. They are curious about the performativity of self and the exploration of performance, using their lived experiences, mental illness, and gender as a landscape for processing emotions. Three incredible artists who are linked through this scene. I want to invite you to introduce yourselves in a moment with an opening question. And so anyone can start, maybe Ben should start as the Skylab artist who brought this collective together tonight. What brought you to making a zine in 2020 or 2021? And please introduce your pronouns and your land acknowledgement.
Thank you so much, Kyria. This is Ben, or Benjamin Lundberg Torres Sánchez. I'm a light-skinned person wearing two braids on the left side of my face, a bright yellow sunflower over my right ear. I have two gold dangly earrings on and a black t-shirt with text in a rainbow gradient. I'm going to drop links to both of the artists who designed my earrings and shirt in the chat. Elena Soledad, of Brooklyn Warmy Designs, is an adopted person themselves. And I want to take time to acknowledge that I am an uninvited settler on traditional lands of the Munsee Lenape, the Canarsie, the Unkachug, the Matinecock, the Shinnecock, the Rockaway, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. I want to give thanks for the steward of the land, water, and air, past, present, and future. I also want to take this time to acknowledge that after there was stolen land, there were stolen people. And I want to honor generations of displaced and enslaved people that built and continue to build the country that we occupy today and that occupies Indigenous lands. So thank you so much, y'all, for being here. And thank you, Kyria, for the question. Why a zine? This has to do, my answer has to be situated in conversation with Leah. And in this strange pandemic time, making the kind of audacious move to slide into DMs of an artist that you admire and just try to strike up a conversation. I saw Leah's work through an online exhibition that was curated by Amy Myung-Ginther, who I believe is here tonight. Hi, Amy. And I was really, really impressed and compelled by the imagery that Leah was working with, wanted to connect. I'm really excited when I see adopted, fostered, and trafficked folks using artistic expression in a way that maybe is less legible than a straightforward personal story. And so Leah's work really jumped out at me in the ways that concise, clear images that kind of hit me in the gut immediately resonated with me on first brush. And in reaching out, I just wanted to see how can this connection or like this moment of meeting, what will happen? Will we just have a really good conversation or what? And through talking, the zine emerged really as a way to defy digital space that we were meeting in each other in. We yet have not been in physical space with one another. The same was true for me and X until just the other week, running into each other in our own neighborhood. But there's been a lot of incredible meeting, expression, power unleashed through getting to work on this collaboratively across immense distance. And I think why a zine? We wanted this physical something to land in the hands of people across the world. And when we receive a picture of the zine hanging on the wall in Medellin or floating through the park somewhere in Netherlands, it's really incredible to me to know that we're in the company of all of these folks who have been touched by systems of family policing, surveillance, and other kinds of regulation. It's been often remarked recently within community spaces that we are a part of that we were never supposed to know each other. And I think that is a huge reason why we wanted a physical something to be out there amidst all of the dearth of information floating around on social media. We wanted this to be a physical portal to gather and also to branch and bridge outward to community known and unknown and seen and unseen.
Thank you so much for that rich answer. I want to move it over to you, Leah, in just a moment, but I wanted to point out two things. One is just to name, if you aren't aware, the zine is only offered in print, which I also think is really powerful, and I'd love for one of your collaborators to talk about it. But first, I just wanted to take a moment to address our audience space and welcome to the room. There's a real collective connection desire that Benjamin just expressed by way of this zine that is also here in this event tonight. So that's why this is a Zoom meeting and not just a Zoom webinar. So you're welcome to have your camera on or off as makes you comfortable. You're welcome to chat with us or with each other as the event goes on. We welcome a sort of call and response. I'll ask you just to avoid Zoom chaos that we keep their mics off until invited, but there will be moments where I invite direct questions from the audience using your voice. So I just wanted to pay attention to that for a moment. But Leah, if you could please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your entry into the zine, that'd be great.
Yay, thanks so much, Kyria. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm currently sitting I'm usually, this isn't where I live, but I'm on visiting in many ways, Arapahoe and UT land in Denver, Colorado. And I am wearing braids and that I'm really excited about with flowers that I picked up outside and a black shirt as well with like bat sleeves, which are my favorite type of sleeves because you can just I don't know, maximum movement. The zine, oh, Ben, thank you so much for your words, Ben. It feels funny because I feel like we're having a personal conversation, but there's other people invited, which is also great. Yeah, Ben reached out to me and I was so touched because he said, like, he was moved by what he saw that I had made, which is always such a compliment. He said that I'm sorry, thank you. Want to acknowledge correct pronouns. Ben acknowledged that they, yeah, like shed some tears when they saw my work. And I was like, wow, I cried too. And it was just this beautiful moment of connection through art that I got to experience with them. I think, yeah, what they just said about the zine, we were really craving conversation and connection and a container for our experiences and a way to celebrate self-expression and creativity that kind of exists outside of traditional realms of perhaps policy or social work or academia in regards to adopted, fostered, and trafficked folks. We also, like Ben said, wanted something that existed outside of the digital realm as well. Yeah, we wanted something to hug and to hold and something that we could hang up in our spaces and keep looking at throughout the day. Yeah, I think it's funny because it's a material object, but it feels less consumable somehow because it's not primarily online. And I think we also had talked a lot about having an intentional audience. I think in the digital realm, it's so easy to kind of passively scroll and consume. And so it's really exciting that people are intentionally reaching out and seeking out the zine as well. So I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. X, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and talk about your entry point into this zine.
Hi, my name is X. My pronouns are they, them. I am a Black and Chinese light brown skin, agender person who is soft presenting. I have silver short braids. I have very dramatic rouge on my cheeks and nose. I have wonderful flowers, I believe are daisies, in my hair. And I'm wearing a pinstripe black and white sleeveless top. I am currently residing in Brooklyn. Very specifically, the neighborhood I'm in is on Muncie, Lenape, and Canarsie land, originally stewarded by those folks. And I also acknowledge that I am first generation American and my ancestors have been through lots of systemic and historical violence that continues to affect communities today. Coming to the zine, when Benjamin told me about the zine, I was like, sure, I guess I'm primarily working performance. So that was really interesting. And Benjamin encouraged me to submit performance in a way that I felt would be, authentic and creative. And I am interested in zines, especially because I find that they're kind of like these guerrilla tactics and you remind me of communities, connecting with community, building community, thinking about people in interpersonal relationships and underground, underrepresented themes and folks connecting. And so I was really excited about this zine in particular because it's an abolitionist zine. It's about abolition, specifically in this nuance of adopted, fostered adults and folks across generations, which is also a new community that I am situating myself into, as my narrative is a little interesting. I'll leave it at that. And in regards to that, and I'm interested in continuing conversation as well throughout the evening, and thinking about where folks are coming from, where we go, and how we transform and transcend. Thank you.
Thank you. So many gems I want to follow up on. We will talk about the coordinated looks, but as a way to enter into aesthetics perhaps. But first, I actually just want to talk a little bit, maybe make the connection point between the radical history of zines, which comes out of rebel culture, I think going back to probably the 80s, or were there zines in the 70s and 60s? You tell me, maybe some of us on this call know, maybe some people in the chat know. So what you know about the history of zines and its radical roots, and how that makes it a good place for an abolitionist conversation about adoption and foster care. Does anyone want to jump into that question?
Ben speaking. One quick thought that I want to share is that there was a moment of terror that I felt when a prominent prison industrial complex abolitionist retweeted our zine, and all of a sudden, as Leah mentioned, we wanted to have we were really intentional about this being a for us and by us kind of situation with the zine. And then all of a sudden realizing that people who consider themselves radical social workers, for instance, or directly impacted parents of different kinds, just so many different people who might want to connect to abolitionist work, and also to connect abolitionist movements to one another, began to have eyes on this. And so I've been thinking a lot about, in terms of what is, I often hesitate to use the word radical, but just in terms of the space that we're taking or claiming, I mention all of that as a preamble to say that I was deeply concerned that folks would want to be educated through our zine. And I think that a lot of really supportive, directly impacted folks in community reminded me of our intention, which is that it's for us and by us. And I think that in future iterations, we even want to go deeper into playing around legibility. Like, who is this for? What is more or less transparent or opaque in how we're presenting things? Because I think that there's a lot to be witnessed and recognized in what we've put together, but maybe it doesn't have to be legible to everyone.
Yeah, I think the politics of legibility are really interesting. And I think it's really, I'm really compelled by your saying, Benjamin, and I'm curious if where you, X and Leah, find yourself in terms of this space between educating and by us, for us, that there's really an intention not to use this as an educational space. Education, I assume, might happen by happenstance, people coming across it, but that's not the goal. So yeah, let me pass it over to X or Leah. What do you think about the zine as a space specifically for abolitionist politics and the bias for us? Go ahead,
Okay.
Leah.
Hi, Leah here. Yes, I think that's a great point that Ben brought up about audience. We've talked a lot about audience and who it's for, intentionally or not. I've been thinking about the zine lately, and Ben, we haven't chatted for a few days, so this is our chat, and X as well. About the zine, similar to how people think about abolition as an organizing tool and also a long-term goal. That's kind of how we think about the zine as well. It's this goal, so there's this actual physical, tangible output, but it's also this wonderful organizing tool that we're all just kind of exploring now in real time, where we can know each other. And Ben noted this earlier, that we aren't supposed to know each other. I'm not supposed to know X and Ben. We aren't supposed to be in the same place with flowers in our hair, experiencing joy. It's just that in itself, to me, like this in itself, this gathering is a radical act. Yeah, I think that's, Ben and I have had some wonderful conversations with creatives and artists that do have lived experiences of being adopted, fostered, and trafficked. And those very small conversations seem quite, just quite amazing. And that's kind of what the zine has brought about. So it's both this actual like printed thing that you can hold, literally. But it's also, it feels like more than that. And we're kind of just, I feel like, experiencing the tip of that iceberg.
Go ahead, X.
X speaking. I am just very adamant and passionate about by us, for us, ways of navigating space, of producing, creating, sharing, especially when it comes to both art and activist spaces and events. Something I think about constantly with my work, whether I'm producing or curating or creating, is who my audience is, and sometimes I don't have control over who my audience ends up being, but I can have that intention of who I want to share something with and who I'm specifically trying to communicate with. And so that's definitely a specific aspect of the zine that I really admired, and my submission piece in the zine, I don't think is educational really, but I'll say it perhaps offers a kind of representation that I personally haven't seen, and I have kind of felt very alone and isolated in my experience and the nuances of it, as someone who has been through the child welfare system. So I am really excited to see the further iterations of this zine, and am very honored to also be in continuous community with Leah, Benjamin, other adopted and foster folks, because I feel like other conversations and happenings and creations can continue to emerge as we continue to focus and center ourselves in our experiences, and be in community with one another.
Thank you for that. I want to take a minute to talk a little bit about intentional aesthetic choices or visual choices. There's a coordination here in case you didn't catch it. This is Kyria speaking, by the way. I am the only one of the panelists that does not have a flower, and I feel very much like I wish I did. And I loved one of the pieces of language I noticed, X, when you introduced yourself. You said soft presenting, which I haven't heard before. There's also braids in everyone's hair except for mine. So even the way you're showing up to this live event, there is a very intentional, coordinated but distinct presentation. And I feel that I have gotten to view a little bit of the zine. I haven't had a physical copy, but Ben let me peek at something online. There is a lot of diversity in media, if I may describe a little bit. There's some written, like poetic writing. There is some visual representations like photography that's been edited or otherwise manipulated images. There's a QR code for a video that you can watch elsewhere, which I thought was really fascinating. So it's quite a multimedia experience. So I'm curious if you guys can talk about, if you folks can talk about your choices in putting together this visual tangible object, and how many contributors are there? I'm actually not quite sure. And yeah, how did you make choices as curators?
Leah, Ben speaking. I want to throw it to you. Can I invite you?
Thank you for the invitation. Okay, how did we make choices? I mean, given everything we've said under this umbrella of being united in abolition and dismantling oppressive systems and healing from trauma and imagining new futures together, we wanted to make something beautiful and something fun. And we wanted to recruit or invite people who were already down. So we got connected to X. Ben already had a relationship with them. So it was like, okay, let's like actually do this. Ben often says, and I learned a lot from them about like, we aren't trying to convince anyone, which is very relevant to the audience question as well. So it just, in that way, it was, I want to use the word easy. Like it felt easy to put together, acknowledging the labor that we all have put into it as well. And we wanted it to be colorful too. The cover, we wanted something that represented layers and something that you hold. So an initial inspiration was dirty laundry, which also has implications of like public-private spheres and like metaphors of airing dirty laundry. And honestly, we talk a lot about how this is just one experiment. I think Ben was really smart in being insistent that we have a second issue even before issue 1 was done. So it took a lot of pressure off of the first issue because we're like, cool, we can do this again. And we often say that the zine is special but not precious, meaning that we want to have fun and experiment. Like I would love to see X, I want to see like little QR codes on like the edge of the page and have like 10 different videos hidden in text. We've talked about just having a zine that's like covered in words and what that would look like. So we're really open to this looking different every issue and trying things out and continuing to invite more and more people into this space.
Thank you, Leah. I really appreciate that response. Ben speaking. I noticed that my mom in Colombia just logged on, and I want to ask Spanish interpreters if it would be possible to pause the conversation and give the announcement again. Ben speaking again. I think they logged on and logged off. So no worries. I'm going to just back channel this with my mom a little bit. But the reason I'm pausing this is because my sweet mom sat through 90 minutes of a presentation during AMC, smiling, being proud, and didn't understand any of it because while we had Spanish language interpretation, she never made it on the line. So yeah, I'll keep stopping and starting as necessary, but I'd love to follow up on, and I'm seeing the message in the chat about interpretation, no problem. I'll send her your number. Cool. So I wanted to go back to just very briefly, like this question of easiness, or like this, say, like Leah spoke easiness into the space. And I think I've learned a lot from another
And do you want me to take another question for a moment? Or you handle?
Sure, I can, but I'm also hearing Spanish interpretation now, into the audio.
Do you want me to ask another question while you connect with your mom, or do you want to continue with this question?
I'll finish the question because she's not back on yet. Y'all, I really appreciate everybody holding the space for this to happen or not happen. But like, it's so related to what Leah is raising, and just I've learned a lot from another adopted and fostered person, Genevieve Saavedra, has spoken in different community settings about moving from ease and desire. And so I think like there were other folks that we had reached out to initially that we didn't hear from, and that was also okay. To like, I think we are trying very much to use the language of invitation through the zine and through the way that we're working with one another. And so yeah, I wanted to speak that into the space. And I think like that was what was so incredible about getting to both invite and then see come to fruition X's contribution, was that we didn't also exactly know how performance would land in this space. And then X carried it off in such a really brilliant way that I think also models in and of itself a lot of access, which I am just like internally grateful to X for you. You say that it's not educational, but I learned something in the way that you presented the work itself. So yeah, I want to throw it to you because Kyria also is talking about ways that different media rest in this physical, two-dimensional-ish kind of space, but we have a portal somewhere else.
Go ahead, X, if you feel ready to answer that question.
I guess this is X speaking. I guess I will maybe kind of describe what my part in the zine is and how it exists. The primary piece I created was a video, and that is shared with a QR code that you can scan with a smartphone that takes you to the video online. There is an image of my hair, the tips of my blonde hair dipped in red, and the red dye is dripping down my face. And I'm showing off a tattoo that says, "By any means necessary," with the Black Panther. And there is an image description and then a video description of the video that can be found through the QR code. And then there is text that is the text for the transcript of the video, which speaks about my parents and how they went through different systems and institutions, and how I also went through another institution and system through the child welfare system as it is. And it was very new for me. I usually don't talk about my parents or my history of family regulation and separation in my work, even though my work is so personal and about my experiences, and I usually don't shy away from talking about the different racism, transphobia, ableism that I've experienced. But this was definitely a new and different way of exploring myself, my identity, while also creating this homage to my parents and kind of putting on this war paint in this video of the rouge on my face and giving myself a tattoo. And the tattoo is ACAB, the notorious acronym for All Cops Are Busted. Though Benjamin and I and other folks are reimagining what that or bastards is what it originally is. The B is usually bastards, but I'm already changing it to busted or something else because that B word is so loaded. It was very interesting to think about how does a performer contribute to a zine when they don't really know graphic design. So that was really exciting for me. It was also the first time I ever created a QR code, though I've made video works in the past. So that was really exciting. And I have just been in awe of how this zine has connected with so many folks. And I'm definitely curious what the further iterations look like, and how different media and media languages and or communication as a whole exists in further issues.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing with us. This is Kyria speaking. Your journey from trepidation to new experiments in form, bringing your performance to a zine. It's definitely something that struck me right away, getting to peek at it, was the video description and the QR code and the image image description. It was very accessible for me as someone who was even just trying to orient, what is this zine? I appreciated that collection of things coming together. I want to ask another question, but it's a priming question. I'm warming you up, audience who is listening and in the room with us, to ask your own questions or bring your own comments. I'm going to ask a question to you all panelists in just a second about what interactions you've had with people who have bought the zine, because there's really explicit invitation to reach out to you in the zine, which is great. But audience, first of all, there's a prompt in the chat. If you have other words for the B in ACAB, we would love to hear it. Please let us know what else we might use when we're chanting our abolitionist defunding the police chants. All cops are what? Give us some B words. And then also, are you coming to this conversation because you have the zine? Are you also an artist who's interested in making a zine? Are you also a part, do you locate yourself in, as it has been coined, systems of family regulation, surveillance, and policing? What's coming up for you? What questions do you have? What curiosities? What reflections, offers do you have for our panelists? While you're thinking about that, you can start putting them in the chat as we're talking. And I want to ask the panelists, what are some experiences you've had with people who have responded to your call to reach out to you, who have your zine? You said you've seen pictures of them across the world already, which is great, but tell us some more.
Ben speaking. Yeah, I'll go for it. Yeah, just to elaborate, I think like it really is, I'm thinking really specifically right now of a friend who is in, so I'm trying to think because we are diffuse and spread out. But my friend Uwera, who's in Belgium, in Antwerp, just the other day seeing Uwera's thumb pressed against the side of the zine and holding it. I think when I see body in images, like doing the holding, like fulfilling the invitation of the title, that means as much as anything else that is expressed about it. I think that I just want to really puff up again Leah's cover design of the abstraction of folded laundry. I see that on people's walls. And so I think like the fact that folks want it to be with them in a present way or that it remains as an emblem when it is, when the reading and sitting with it has finished in some way. That means a lot to me. And then I sent handwritten notes to every person who bought the zine in their packet. And so in reading our Google form, we asked, have you been impacted by systems of family regulation, surveillance, and policing? And folks wrote, their personal stories, long and short, in that form. And so that provided me with a lot of avenue to connect with people just through sending them something through my hand in their package. And so I've since had calls on video with folks who, as X is mentioning, I think I'll speak for myself. Being in community and doing this kind of work is also a series, an ever expanding series of opening ups for me, and finding new things. And so one of the people who responded the form said, I don't know if I am impacted. This is my story. And then I was able to write back to them, I think that you are, and we can get on the phone if you want. And we did. And then I was able to meet them in the park with a lot of other really incredible Peruvian folks who had been separated from family through these systems. That's why I have these earrings on. I mean, it's just like the connections abound, because we all know somebody who knows somebody. And I think what has been so incredible to me about just putting out, okay, the identitarian space of adopted, fostered, trafficked folks, and then the guiding principle of abolition. I think it just makes these worlds shrink and shrink, and also draw people closer and closer together into deeper intimacy. So yeah, I mean, of course there's all manner of feedback, but I think that's the impact that I'm feeling return back.
That's incredible. This is Kyria speaking. The fact that you're putting this out into the world invited someone to think about the word impacted in their own story and shift their experience to their own story. That's incredibly powerful. I'm pausing for interpreter switchover.
Ben speaking. I know that I've heard from both of y'all, Leah and X, different ways, heard or seen, because Leah and I have talked directly about feedback as two people who have edited the zine and are holding some logistic pieces of this. And then X, I've been ever appreciative of the way that your generosity and sharing, which I see as just an ethos that you have in community. I know that there are folks that would not have seen it were it not for your contribution and your presence in connecting people to what it is that's happening here. So yeah, I'd just love to hear from both of you too.
I can go. Leah speaking. Thanks for saying that, Ben. That's really nice. I think it's really nice to have something to point to. Personally, I'm such a visual person, and the zine, yeah, it's just, I think it's easy to get lost in all of the sea of isms going around and these really large, complex, nuanced systems and topics in the world. And it's even easy to get lost in organizing spaces. And it's so nice to say I am connected to X through a zine. And that's not all we're connected through. We're connected through cottagecore, which I now know about, and many other things. But it's nice to have a holder or a container for that connection. And I think the zine has been really good for that, and really good and being a model for also ways that ideas and spaces and groups can change. The zine is going to change and evolve, and that's super exciting. The same way terminology, language, organizing, ways of organizing can change throughout time. So I love that it's not precious. And at the same time holds such like a rich glue that connects us all at the same time.
I do want X to answer, but I just want to jump in. There are a couple of questions from the audience in the chat I want to read out loud. And we are going to have to end soon because interpretation will end. And this is Kyria speaking, but Charles asked a bit of a tease because I don't have the zine and want it. So will you print more at some point, or is there a share system to meet up and connect with zine holders, which is a very time-honored tradition that I wonder if you have thought about coordinating one of those. And Benjamin answered that briefly to say that that you all printed a total of 400 copies in 2 editions of 200 copies. So that's 200 edition copies, and they sold out. And maybe there will be a 3rd edition, many question marks. And then Benjamin is now suggesting that there's a zine share at BAD, Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, where Charles is hailing from. And then we also have a very profound question from Kayla. We'll see if each of you can answer this in 2 minutes, as well as X answering the other question, which is, as someone who is a transracial adoptee, could you all share what was the turning point to reclaim your adopted and or fostered identity? This aspect of my identity has been easily dismissed by my family and therefore myself, and I'm so deeply inspired by y'all. Sorry about the loud street noise, but again, it ends with, I'm so deeply inspired by y'all. So does anyone want to take on that question? And then also you can still answer any other connections you've had with folks who have received the zine.
I can quickly answer that, Leah here. I mean, that's a big, beautiful question. And for me, it was just kind of acknowledging facts in my life, like acknowledging all of these multiplicities and saying them out loud, writing them down. The fact that I know these people that are my adoptive family, and I know them, we're together because of, or I only know them because of systems of transnational, transracial adoption that's rooted in anti-Blackness, misogyny, sexual violence, imperialism. So it's like, okay, let's acknowledge both of those things. How do I reckon with that is a whole question that I will, am on that journey. But I think just acknowledging like, okay, what's in your heart? What do you feel? And what's true, even if it feels like a disconnect. Yeah.
Do others want to take on that question or answer about other connections? Go ahead, Benjamin.
Yeah, Ben speaking. Kayla, that's yes, beautiful and complex. I'll just add one thing because yes to everything that Leah said. That Susie Martinez Carter, who is in our community spaces as well, I just want to lift up something that transformed an aspect of my thinking more recently in the last couple of years. 2 things that come from her. One, that she has really helped me understand that I was also fostered, because adoption was the primary way that I sort of reckoned with this identity space and set of experiences, but I was in foster care before I was adopted. And then the second thing is that Susie Martinez Carter, Liz Laddie, Emily Levy, sorry interpreters, Genevieve Saavedra, Skylar Swenson, Mariama Lockington, these folks have been in really challenging conversation with me about even how do we refer to our adoption. And I think what I've learned from them is that like it bears mentioning, as Leah gestured towards, the totality of what the experience is. And so just picking up gems of like, was I adopted? Was I relinquished? Are these terms that I choose to use, or do we use language that builds connection to other people and other identity experiences and other movements. Like I choose to say often, I was separated from my family through the system of international adoption, through a private international adoption. And so I think where I'm at right now is like, yes, I'm reckoning with my experiences within these systems, but I'm also really trying to do bridging that is for me, by me, and for connections with others, not the kind of bridging that I'm asked to do all the time by white spaces, you know, to try to like translate my experience, make it legible. I want to do bridging that brings towards me intimacy with other folks who are facing down the brutality of these systems.
Lots of head nodding and affirming. X, did you want to take a stab at either of the questions on the floor?
Sure. I'll say my experience is something that to me, I didn't really know how to describe for a very long time. And then I very recently realized, oh, this system of family regulation, of separation, of policing, all of it has deeply impacted me. I was separated by both my parents. One parent was incarcerated for most of my life, and the other was institutionalized in psychiatric care. And so they both lost custody of me. And then I was taken in under the custody of a blood relative, but was never formally adopted, but was considered a ward of the state until I was 18. So for me, it took engaging with media, honestly, little fires everywhere, which I still have to read, but watching that show, and the way that parents are separated from children, the way parents are judged as not being good enough, as being failures, failed parents, it really struck a chord with me because I was kind of told from a very young age that I was saved, that I was like rescued from foster care and from my parents. It also took attending the Allied Media Conference, which Benjamin presented at, and I was introduced to so many folks and realized I connected so much to these similar narratives from folks who identified as adopted and fostered adults. And then I'll just say, Benjamin, that comment about my contribution to the zine, you know, having this like heavy impact or, you know, being an entry point for people is so humbling. And I just hope that more people can continue to connect with each other and also like learn more about everyone who contributed and learn more about themselves, no matter how nuanced or different our stories are. And even though perhaps we've experienced a lot of separation, hopefully we can come together and connect through this scene and through further abolition work.
That's beautiful and a wonderful segue to us almost certainly closing out. I want to put a button on it with some offers from Soul for an alternative to the usual ACAB. So we have all cops are blasphemous, all cops are bigots, all cops are bloodthirsty, all cops are brainwashed. Some excellent choices. Thank you. You are a great thesaurus, Soul. Also, Charles and Benjamin are plotting a zine exchange at BAD, perhaps outdoors in the Bronx. Can't wait for that. I want to shout out to that as well. to remind you all, there's the current issue is sold out. Maybe there will be another run, but there will certainly be an issue 2 because they're already committed to that. I'd like to invite my colleagues from High Arts to share some links to High Arts in the chat so you can check out our other events, including next week, Tuesday. Ben and I are going to continue our conversation on June 1st. But to our panelists, any final words or where should people check out your other work? Anything you want us to know about?
Ben speaking. I just want to give so much gratitude to the High Arts staff, to Leah, to X, everyone on this call. Shout out to my mom and sister who did make it on. I don't know if we're just seeing each other or hearing each other, but it's so good to see your face, Paula, and Doris, my mom. Why the heck not? I'm gonna spotlight them. Hi, y'all. Yeah, final words. Just gratitude. I feel very, yeah, just my emotions are catching up with me now in this like moment of closing. Just that that Leah and X would reach out to me and say that we should wear flowers in our hair. That so many comrades and friends are in this space, that folks who I adore from other moments in life are here and that we're able to reconnect. Just thank you. And thank you, High Arts, for the trust to be doing this work. And please, Leah and X, say something.
Interpretation will have to end shortly, so if you want to get a word in quickly, please do.
Thank you so much for this space. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, X. Thank you, Kyria, so much. I'm also feeling the feels, and we're with you, Ben, and we're holding you.
This is X. I just want to say, yes, thank you to everyone who helped put this discussion together. And thank you to Benjamin and Leah, especially for this zine. And I hope we are all holding each other and holding space for each other and continue to have opportunities to do so.
Good night, everyone. And I hope I see you at the next High Arts event. Have a great one.